the officer involved in the shooting. They are not being named due to Marcy's Law. She said shortly after the shooting, a firearm at me. That is what she said. The officer told other officers who were there on the scene. She also screamed gun. He has a gun. So she went through all of these other elements that we did not know before, but it definitely will be interesting to hear from
office. Also inside that news conference today was our Karen Johnson. Rachel, thanks so much. Karen, I want to send things out to you. I know you've covered so many of these types of trials. Ray Tensing, who was the UC police officer involved in it. Did anything strike you in this news conference? I found it interesting that the prosecutor was so deliberate, as I said, went for 35 minutes. Step for why she decided not to pull in other investigators, not to take this to the grand jury, but felt like this was a justified shooting when looking at it from a police officer. Emily, what do you take away?
Yeah, sure. You know what? Ever since this shooting, followed up by Rodney Hinton, the father, the next day, and the death of Larry Henderson, there has been tension in the city. And the one word that Connie Pillich used today that really stuck out to me is she wanted this to be very thorough. What I felt like inside her office today, she was very transparent about the entire process. She walked us through the start of May 1st. May 1st was the day of the officer involved shooting. Through first, prior to the shooting, all the way through the investigation and how she made her decision. So I think she really wanted to get across how her investigation was, and she wanted to be transparent with all of you, with our community, so they can see how investigators put the pieces together. I do want to start with May 1st, or early morning hours of May 1st. She says Ryan Hinton and his 3 friends actually drove to Northern Kentucky in a stolen car. She did play some footage from maybe Ring doorbell footage or security footage from a house in Boone County that shows them going into cars. Connie Pillich says it appears they were trying to steal cars in Northern Kentucky. They came back to Cincinnati in a stolen car, she says. And shortly after that is when this whole shooting unfolded in East Price Hill. You know, Cincinnati police, they got an alert that they were looking for a stolen car. They saw this stolen car. They called for backup. And what Connie Pillich says, as they were kind of getting a game plan together as how to approach these 4 suspects in a stolen car, that's when investigators say the 4 suspects took off. And she also played body camera footage and radio, communication between the officers, where you can clearly hear an officer say, he has a gun, he has a gun. And it was in a split-second decision when Officer A, which being referred to as Officer A, to protect his identity, fired and made that decision to shoot Ryan Hinton in East Price Hill. Sherry?
Karen, I'm going to let Mike has a question for you, so hang on here. I'd like your perspective on this.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Karen, obviously you developed a lot of relationships over the years, as we have as well, with prosecutors and people in police departments. And there's always been that criticism because they work so closely together building cases, that it's that old brother network. But times have certainly changed. And George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, in many cases before and since, have proven over and over again, this is the day and age now where people are not afraid to charge police officers. So, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, there would be that criticism levied at the prosecutor's office that, hey, you're never going to charge an officer. But I think nowadays, the way they meticulously lay these things out, the process and the way it's changed, the collaborative here in Cincinnati, I think we can all agree that that kind of line has blurred quite a bit and probably in the right direction.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the community, once they see, if they didn't see this press conference, and once they see how Pillage laid out all of the facts and all of the videos and, took everything step by step, I think they will appreciate it, because I felt like she was being very transparent in this. And yeah, you're right. Times have changed, but I got the feeling being up there, she not only walked through the events of May 1st leading up to yesterday when they made this decision, but she, also talked about the law. And it's not just you look at video and you say, okay, he had.
All right, so I'm gonna mute it right there real quick, and I hope y'all can hear me. Shout out to everybody who's joining this live. I just got word that they had released this press conference of the prosecutor saying that the shooting of our brother Ryan Hinton was justified. And they're saying, that, he was shot from the side. And I'm going to break that press conference down later, but I thought, I should share this live while the press conference is ongoing, because y'all can't hear me. Can y'all hear me? Y'all let me know if y'all can hear me. Let me make sure I don't have my mic in. Let me see. Can y'all hear me? Somebody said they. Y'all give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Okay, can y'all hear me? Can y'all hear me? Okay, so somebody said they can't hear me. But the reason I'm sharing, because right now the family is about to do a press conference too. But I saw a little bit of that earlier press conference, and it was the same thing that the police. So I know why you can't hear me. Everybody else can hear me. So but what I'm going to do is I'm going to because the family is supposed to be holding a press conference now. I had the pleasure of meeting the family when I went up there a couple of weeks ago. But going back to that press conference, the prosecutor, they didn't even take it to the grand jury. So that stuff that man was saying is totally false. But let me go ahead back. Can y'all at least hear what the news is saying? I want to play what the news is saying real quick. But the Communist Party of Mississippi probably, you can't hear me. Maybe this is not for you. But just listen to this. I think the family is right now. Hold on.
Up and give that press conference. Just real quickly, I do want to note there has already been a lot of emotion here today. The family was visibly crying outside the courthouse as those results were being announced. I'll step aside so we can take this press conference live. Mike Sherry.
All right. Let's see who's up there. Probably an attorney representing the family.
I believe that might be Michael Wright, who is the family's attorney. We will listen in.
My name is Fanon Rucker. I am one of the members of the Cochran Firm legal team that represents Ryan Hinton. Members of his family who just heard some devastating news are standing here to discuss what we heard today. Our criminal justice system. But justice is still going to be obtained, and we're here to ensure that that is the case. What I heard from our prosecutor today was a word that confuses and astounds, but doesn't surprise me. And that is justified. The prosecutor said that she ruled that this was a justified shooting. But what have we not seen? Didn't see it today. Haven't seen it since May 1st. A gun in a young man's hand as he was running away from someone who was not even in uniform standing to his side shooting at him. We saw today in a press conference, slow down shots to justify what our eyes didn't tell us we saw. How was that justified? What we saw in the press conference today was conversation about a young man who with his friends were somewhere in Kentucky beforehand and what he was wearing at another time. What have we heard about the officer whose words we're taking as credible in this instance? All I heard were letters referring to people's names, including someone who took the life of another person. Justified? That's not our position. And that's certainly not the family's position. What we know is when we talk about our court system, the most important piece when it comes to obtaining justice is the credibility of those involved. Credibility comes when we look at physical evidence like videos and still shots and body-worn camera. Credibility is established when you look at the records of those who are giving statements. What is the record of the primary officer here who pulled the trigger and shot, as the chief said, in the chest when we know it wasn't the chest, it was the side? What is that officer's background? We know it. And we know his jacket with the Citizens Complaint Authority and with internal investigations is not empty. And we ask the question, why is his word the credible word that the prosecutor's office is willing to take in such a serious matter? We don't think it should be. And we express to you today that justice will be obtained. Two of the things that we want to press today about what the prosecutor did. First of all, we obviously disagree with the idea that this was justified. Second of all, there are neighboring jurisdictions who take every serious police case, shooting, homicide to the grand jury to let citizens look at the evidence and make a decision whether the charges are appropriate. For the prosecutor's office to unilaterally decide based on the reading of the facts and based on the reading of the law that they shouldn't even present this should have been presented to the grand jury. In 2020, after George Floyd was murdered, Governor DeWine proposed several amendments to our state law policies. One of those state law policies that with serious shootings or homicides involving police officers, that an independent body be the investigating, not the entity that was at the source of the shooting itself. We believe that those ought to be the policies that our office in this county ascribes to. Transparency, trust, a system that people believe in. That's what helps to get there. But unilaterally deciding that this is justified and that this shouldn't even go to the grand jury, that doesn't feel like justice. And it certainly doesn't feel to this family like this was justified. We will, in the coming weeks, be presenting our argument to the courts. And even though a group of citizens didn't have the opportunity in that building to decide whether criminal charges should be filed, we believe that a group of citizens should be the ones to make the determination of whether or not, in the eyes of the civil courts, that the tragic death of young Ryan Hinton was not justified. And we intend to advocate for that position as loudly, as strongly, and as intentionally as we can. I believe there's one voice that would like to be heard. And since it's raining, I'll ask them to come on up quickly. You do want to? This is the voice that you've heard before. This is Ryan Hinton's brother, cousin. That's what I said. It's his cousin. He's been at the other press conferences, and he does have a brief word that he'd like to offer.
Yeah, I just, like I said, like he said, I'm his cousin. I'm Marlon. Ryan, my little cousin. I just want to say, Ryan, we miss you. We love you down here. We all miss you and love you, man. Like, more than you know, bro. But I just want to say, the prosecutor, whatever she said or whatever she said, I just felt like it was a complete joke. I mean, we all seen Ryan running, man. How can you be threatened by somebody running? I don't understand it. But yeah, I ain't gonna really say too much. I just wanted to tell my cousin I miss him, man. That's all.
Thank you.
Mr. Rucker, you implied that you know the officer's name and talk more about how do you know that his jacket has some marks?
we've been investigating this case since May the 1st. We have access to a lot of information that has not been made public. In fact, all I heard today was letters referring to police officers' names. We know the names, and we know their histories, and we know that their credibility should not be accepted simply because they made statements, this one in particular, about what happened. And we intend to put that before a group of citizens who can help to make that determination, because credibility is extremely important.
You referenced the courts. Are you applying? Will there be a civil suit, or how do you?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
There was a period during this press conference where Pillage went over the criminal activity leading up to this event. What do you make of that description? A rash of thefts in northern Kentucky. What's happening?
Yeah. What I make of that is that that's information. What we were talking about today is whether the officer was justified in the moment that he pulled the trigger and pulling the trigger. So the question is not what was going on in the last century, last week, an hour before, the day before, but what was going on at the time. He had no idea about any of that stuff. So why was it relevant to castigate and to denigrate this young man in this press conference today? Because it had nothing to do with the officer's decision.
And on the note of justification, there's a difference between, of course, criminal liability and civil liability. Tell me why you think that somebody could be civilly liable in this case.
O.J. Simpson. That's the example I use all the time. O.J. Simpson was found not guilty in a criminal trial for the killing of his wife and her boyfriend, but he was found civilly liable for the same exact acts in a court of law. Because the standard in criminal law, and I appreciate this because I was a prosecutor and a judge, the criminal standard is like this. It's proof beyond a reasonable doubt. It's the highest standard that we have in our criminal justice system. In civil court, the standard is like this. It's 51% to 49%. It's more likely than not. And in the court system across the street, it's not even a unanimous verdict that's required to find that a person is liable under those circumstances. So I give people the example of O.J. Simpson. He was found not guilty, but he was found liable for the same exact acts.
When will you be filing?
Soon.
Did you mention that you believe the officer who fired the shots was not in uniform?
That's correct. These were, and the chief admitted it in a prior conversation, that he was not in uniform. He was actually in non-uniform. He was a undercover officer as being a bit more aggressive in their apprehension of individuals.
What do you believe a judge or jury will see in this case that will cause them to rule in your favor?
I think they'll see the law. I think they'll also see the standard that's required, and that's more likely than not that this was wrongful act. And we think that the outcome will be what justice requires. That's what we believe.
Can you spell Marlon's name for us, please?
Marlon?
M-A-R-L-Y-N.
Thank you.
Same last name?
Howard.
Thank you.
Hey, Mr. Rucker, real quickly, you may have said this, and I'm sorry that I didn't quite catch it. Would is it correct to say you would have preferred she had taken this case to the grand jury, and can you discuss whether that's true or not? Or I'm sorry, I don't mean to put words in the
Yes, that's absolutely true.
Why?
Well, whenever we have serious incidences involving the police and the community, I'm going to assume that wasn't for us.
The grand jury question. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the grand jury. So again, there are neighboring counties that's their policy, that anytime there is a critical incident involving law enforcement and citizens, it's taken to the grand jury. Let a group of citizens, voting citizens who are registered to vote, receive the information, take a look at the evidence, understand what the law is, and let them make the decision whether or not charges are appropriate with the appropriate instruction. It's more transparent. It helps to build trust, and I think it's a great policy. And she indicated that she considered that, but she just thinks that she moves differently. I won't be critical of our prosecutor in this role that she's in. And we know that she especially in a way help promote transparency and trust in the system that people don't always trust or believe is transparent.
You talk about her recently being elected to this position. Do you feel this move not to bring it to a grand jury was a political one?
I won't dig into the mind of our prosecutor. As someone I've known her since law school, I think that she has good intentions and good purpose in what she does as our prosecutor. So I won't suggest that any decision that's been made in any of these cases was about politics. What I will suggest is that best practices, and as you all know, I was in the running for that position. And so I looked at a bunch of different policies that our office would run much more smoothly. And I think that that's one that would help to build transparency and trust in the system if all of those types of cases went to the grand jury before a group of citizens. A jury is a group of citizens. So let's take it to the grand jury and let the citizens decide. At least then we won't be complaining about the fact that a single person made the decision that this was justified.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Thanks.
And there you have it. Fanon Rucker, a long time. He was a judge and he was a prosecutor. In fact, he alluded to it moments ago. 5 years ago in 2020, he was this close to being the prosecutor of Hamilton County, lost to Joe Dieters. The announcement coming minutes ago that the officer will not face charges. He says their position is they do not agree that the shooting was justified. Of course, arguing that a grand jury of citizens should have been used in this case. And as he puts it, not one person's decision. Connie Pillich, the prosecutor of Hamilton County, and then kind of taking on the officers involved. Obviously, Marsy's Law now in the books since February, I believe, of 2018, not only protecting victims, but also an officer in a case like this, if no charges are announced. But he's alluded to the fact that he knows the names of the officers, and he kind of hinted at he didn't like some of the things that he saw in their badges, in their backgrounds, and that seems like something that they're going to take on anyway.
It's interesting. And you've been on the air since 2 o'clock when Hamilton County Prosecutor Connie Pillich announced she was not going to be pressing charges or filing charges against the officer involved in that shooting that killed 18-year-old Ryan Hinton. And many of the reporters, including ours, were asking, why didn't BCI get involved in this? You heard one reporter saying, outlying Butler County prosecutor, he has a case right now that he's asking BCI. That's an external investigation by the state. Why didn't you take it to the grand jury? And that's exactly what the Hinton family is upset about here. And you're hearing from Fanon Rucker, who is one of the family attorneys. We also heard from Ryan Hinton's cousin. He said, quote, it's a complete joke. He said, how can you be threatened by someone running away? And I think that's why Connie Pillich today was trying to spell out that it's not just those 4 seconds. You and I talked about it. We were saying, okay, history doesn't really matter. All that people want to see is what led up to the officer feeling like he needed to pull his weapon and fire at that 18-year-old. Connie Pillich saying, in a reasonable act, would a reasonable officer feel like they were threatened? And she spelled out the reasons why she thought he was. She was asked directly, why didn't you take this to a grand jury? Why didn't you get BCI involved or an outlying agency? Because I didn't feel like I needed to.
Well, much more to come in about 45 minutes at 4 o'clock. Cherie will be here. Ashley Kirkland will be here. Our team of reporters covering this very important story. But again, if you're just flipping on to Channel 5 right now, this incident that happened back on May 1st in East Price Hill, the stolen vehicle, 4 suspects spilling out, an officer chase, an 18-year-old Ryan Hinton shot by a police officer, and he later died. That officer will not face charges. Connie Pillich, prosecutor Hamilton County, says the shooting was justified. Both sides of the story we've got covered, and obviously differing opinions. We'll see you coming up at 4 o'clock.
Mic back on. Okay, so y'all heard it from their mouth. The lady was asked, why didn't you take it to the grand jury? She said, I didn't feel like I needed to. All right. Now I still see people saying they can't hear. Can y'all hear me? You know, I don't know what's going on. And I know it's a bit of lagging, you know what I'm saying, because I'm live on this desktop. So it might be a be a bit of Latin. But if y'all watched that press conference earlier, man, this lady is just showing the same little still pieces of the gun, of the steel shot, of the officers, of the dumpsters, of the markers on the ground where the officer shot. Like, she's giving all of this information, but just as the lawyer said that she has shown us nothing about him having a gun, or they have shown no straight through tape. They have shown no straight through video camera footage of the whole incident. They're still showing bits and pieces, like the lawyer said. So, as somebody put in the comments, they said, yep, we've investigated ourselves, and we found it to be okay. But, we're going to take a look at that press conference later on, because, I mean, it's insane. Now, the prosecutor said, look, a decision rests solely on my shoulders. I was the only one involved in this. And so they're still saying Marcy's law. And I don't know why you can't. Greg Sims, everybody can hear me but you. So I don't know what's going on with you. Maybe you got to turn your volume up or what have you. But everybody can hear me. So, yeah, so it's a shame. And, we've been following this case since May the 1st. I've actually been up there. I spoke with the mother. I held this little brother in my arms, and I talked to Rodney Hinton Jr.'s brother as well. So, that's sort of, when I'm looking at those people on the camera, they are not just people on the camera. They are people who, are real people. They're real to me. They have emotions. I listened to his mother and his aunt just, talk about how Ryan was, how he was a jokester, how he was a prankster, how he loved his whole family, how he took care of his little sisters and all of those things. So this is a family that is real. Like, we often see these stories on television, and we read them and we just think that it is it's just a news story. But no, these are real people dealing with real pain, dealing with real grief, and with the loss of the loved one. So, I find this to say I didn't get a chance to watch that whole press conference, but the press conference, if you saw the video with Police Chief Tiggy or whatever her name is, she once again points and stops and shows bits and pieces and freezes it and focuses it on, guns. And, just like the lawyer said, I like what he said. We're not talking about what happened an hour ago, last week, last Wednesday, leading up to it. We're talking about this officer shooting this man. And during the press conference, they talked about the shot that hit him in the side, but they never addressed the one that hit him in the right lateral back. Sam Dubose. Yeah, that's Tim Thomas, Sam Dubose. I heard a lot about those particular cases when I was in Cincinnati. I heard y'all turn the city up there for Sam and Tim. And a lot of people say, well, it doesn't happen often, but when it happens, we definitely, turn the city up. So shout out to the people in Cincinnati. I don't know how y'all are going to react to this. I don't know why. That's what they do. They demonizing them. They were riding in northern Kentucky, and there's footage of them, prowling neighborhoods and going into cars, and as they was probably planning their next car theft. That's when we descended upon them, and they went to run or whatever. So they're steadily focusing on the criminality or the alleged or perceived criminality of these young men, then it justifies them shooting and killing him in cold blood. Like the lawyer said, we've yet to see any video with him with the gun in his hand. So that is definitely a false. The car, a lot of people are saying the car wasn't even stolen. The car was out for repo. Some man called me the other day. He was trying to say, well, I know the person that the car was stolen from down in Cincinnati. And I was like, okay, well, once again, are you going to tell me a stolen car? If you steal a car, the punishment is going to jail. The punishment is not being shot down. And so this is a story, once again, that has captivated me and many others so much that, me and the group Building Bridges, a couple of the New Black Panther Party, the People's Political Party, the Louisiana Storm, the Huey P. Newton Gun Club, the New Black Panthers, all of us went up there and, we kind of checked on the family. And, me personally, I went down to the courthouse and actually I haven't had a chance to go over these documents, but these are some of the documents I was able to get from the courthouse. They concerned the three young men. They did the three young men who was with him. I got some information on them because they are trying to, once again, criminalize them. But I also got some information on the Rodney Hinton indictment that I'm gonna share. I see somebody said voting and it said F voting. Yeah, that's a slippery slope because once again you can vote whoever you win, but the prosecutors and the DA and the sheriff, they really hold the power in the town. The DA, once again, they have the power to prosecute or not prosecute these people. Most of the time, either way, even if it's a black DA, they know they got to answer to the system of white supremacy to keep their position, unless you got somebody who's willing to stand up. Now, if you got somebody who's willing to stand up, then you might have a fighting chance. But nevertheless, this case is once again a case where they have investigated themselves and they have found themselves to be not guilty. Not guilty. So this is something I just wanted to share. I definitely wanted to get the family's perspective of that this situation. Of course, the family has been, kind of told not to speak on certain things, as the lawyer said, they are probably going towards a civil litigation now. So, of course, they don't want to, say anything or do anything that would prohibit them from getting compensatory justice. And since we know that they are not going to give, them any judicial justice from the judicial system. But, this is something I wanted to touch on real quick today. I just came up, on my news line as I was looking, for something else concerning the case. And, there was breaking news that the prosecutors and everybody were releasing their findings, finding the officer justified. Now, they also, this Cian McGrath guy, that is the officer. And let me see if I can pull that picture up. If I have it on this computer, Cian McGrath was the officer that we saw. Let me see if we can get some of these. Now, this is Cian McGrath. This is the alleged officer that shot Ryan Hinton. This is that guy that they claim is Officer A, allegedly. And if you see right there on his left arm, that is what's known as a Crusader's cross. It's Crusader's cross, and that is known as a white supremacist tattoo. Now, I'm going to go over a list of those that are iron cross. Whether somebody said it's the Crusader's cross, but whatever it is, I've been told that is, one of the white supremacist tattoos that they show. And I was listening to a show. I'm going to bring that. The Iron Cross, Crusader's Cross. We can look that up. What is the Iron Cross? I'll look that up real quick and see what that says. But yeah, I've been studying a lot of these tattoos. It originates as a German military medal for bravery. However, it's been adopted by subcultures. In some contexts, particularly when combined with a swastika or in conjunction with other hate symbols, it can be associated with neo-Nazism and white supremacy. So you guys are right. The Crusader's Cross, or the Iron Cross, is a white supremacist tattoo. Iron Cross, particularly combined with the meaning of the iron contracts. Yep. So, and it normally has a swastika in the middle. And so, appreciate y'all for giving me that. That's a Nazi symbol, and this is the officer that has, been reported to be the one who took our brother's life. So, and they're continuously hiding him, and he has actually been the subject. That's what the lawyer was saying as well. He has been the subject of numerous complaints of excessive force and racism. He actually have a couple of complaints, and if I'm not mistaken, a lawsuit. And that's why the lawyer said, okay, well, why are we not hearing, excuse me, why are we not hearing anything concerning them? But the judge has a tattoo also, probably so. The judge, the prosecutor, the police chief, all of those people up there probably have similar tattoos. So, it's definitely a shame that, we have to be subject to this level of oppression, subjection. Well, we don't have to be, because I see a lot of people in the comments and a lot of people texting, I mean, well, okay, well, what we going to do about it? And, I get you on that front. You know what I'm saying? What we going to do about it? What the brothers, I heard somebody, and I know I got a few of my Israelite brothers, my Hebrew brothers in the chat. So I hear somebody say, where's the UIC? Or all the different, sects or groups of brothers. And I know y'all come out and show out too. I had the brothers from the NFAC up here. Like I said, I got the brothers from the UEP Newton Gun Club, the Louisiana Storm, the People's Political Party, the New Black Panthers, and all of the gun clubs around. So we got brothers and sisters who are, willing and able to provide security and to protect. But this is the curse of, okay, well, yeah, and that's another thing, we have to deal with, this thing from within too. So, okay. Yeah, sister, okay, sister, y'all for Israel. I didn't mean, I just know we have a lot of brothers and sisters, excuse me, that, that are part of, the Israelites, the Hebrews, and I know y'all show up and show out too. So, yeah. So, She's going, I'm a sister. You right. But it's definitely a time to band together. As we see, and I don't usually want to touch on this. I don't know how y'all been paying attention to what I didn't want to do a whole show on this subject, but I don't know if clan meet at Stone Mountain at night. They probably do. But they have this thing going on in quote unquote Israel right now, where Israel is supposedly at war, with Iran and Palestine, and everybody's attacking each other. But I do want to say that is the state of Israel, the man-made state of Israel. Those people in that state are not the true people of Israel, the true people of Israel in the Bible, because the scriptures say that those people, and y'all let me know if I'm on the right track or the wrong track, or how y'all feel about it, because I do want to distinguish what we are saying. What God said, you got to support Israel. He doesn't mean the state of Israel, because if you remember, Israel was scattered out across the nations, across the world. They said Israel, the people of Israel, will be scattered across all the nations in the whole world, right? And the scripture also speaks about those who say they are the people of Israel, but really are of the son of Satan. Those are Khazars. That's right. Those are the white people, or the Europeans, the Turks, the Babylonians, the Syrians, whatever nations that came against Jerusalem and conquered it in the Bible. Those are those people who are right there, and Israel has been scattered all over the nations. And I just thought about it. I'm like, okay, why do we see black Britons, right? We see black Britons, black Frenchmen, not necessarily black Frenchmen, but people who live in those countries that are black, or maybe even Hebrew Israelite. But why? I've never seen a black Israeli. I don't think, have you ever seen a black Israeli or Hebrew Israeli? Like, are there no black people today living in Israel? Because I've never seen it. So out of all the countries, you can go to any country anywhere, you can see black people living. But there are, well, yes, it's one who thinks he is. But I don't see any, whether you want to call us once again, whatever you want to classify black is. Have we ever seen any black people in there? But so, that's what I want people to understand when people say, well, yeah, we got to support Israel. God said those who turn their back on Israel turn their back on him. That he's not talking about the man-made state, those borders of Israel. He's talking about the people, the nation of Israel. So, yes, there are a few there. Okay. Well, I've never, and Iran really the person. If I'm not mistaken, yep. And that's what you got to do. You got to read the Bible in geographical. A guy told me geographical, chronological, and theological order. So, I don't know who y'all talking about, Mordecai. But yeah, so I don't know. I want to do a whole just a whole breakdown of that entire situation over there. But I don't want to get too deep because everybody have a lot of different beliefs. But I do know I do believe that I do know that those people over there right now are not the people that we're speaking of in the Bible, because those people have been scattered. And I do, know that the Bible is the oldest, most read, least recognized Black history book, or so-called Black history book that is least acknowledged. So, I know there are some things that, we've been taught that are not, in line with the truth. And so, shout out to everybody who is in search for the truth, who is living for the truth. But I didn't mean to dive into that, but yeah, man. So we're gonna keep an eye on this Ryan and Rodney Hinton situation. But I thank y'all for tuning in. I'll be back later. I may crank up the lives a little bit more as time permits. But get with me. I got brothers that I can. Okay, yeah, I got a lot of brothers and sisters have already reached out. And connected and offered their support and whatever it is that we need. So I certainly appreciate y'all for tuning in. I appreciate y'all for watching these videos, liking, sharing, subscribing, and also all the calls, texts, donations, all those things. I really appreciate y'all for watching. Any updates on the twins? Same thing they did with the twins. They released some information about the twins. I think it was last week or the week before last, saying their death has been ruled what they said it was, and that was it. ATL Gail, I definitely know that we are not the supreme race. I am a grandmother of 7 homeschool grandchildren, so they can be taught true history, not the watch. Yep, they are not. They were refugees running from Hitler. In Palestine, now called Israel, had welcomed them in. They took and stole the land from the Palestinians. Okay, so that's where the ongoing beef from Israel and Palestine originate from. Yeah, so people need to know, man, because I'm tired of people saying, okay, those people in Israel are the true people of God. No, they're not. God don't see people as colors. God see the work you're doing. Well, if God don't see God, yeah, you're right. God see people as nations, Miss Pearson, because one scripture, God literally says, that Jacob have I loved and Esau have I hated. So God don't see people as colors. He see them as nations, different groups of peoples. We have made that distinction of colors, white, red, yellow, brown, black, all of those things we have in not we, the people who wanted to push racism have separated people into colors. No, God don't see people as colors, but God see people as different nations. And by nations, he means different groups of people. You know what I'm saying? There's not, there's not, once again, yeah. Mario Kaiser Jr. We have had a couple of news articles or news people reach out to me about that. We're going to be she's doing some research. She's in the Charlotte area, so I'm going to be bringing forth some information. We're looking for some lawyers who will touch it. She says she can't find a lawyer out there who will touch it. So yeah, they say it looks like he loves Esau. Nah, it's once again, it's somebody mentioned the curses. If we do right, then God will do right by us. But when we don't, we will be cursed. He said, curse will we come, curse will we go. We will be scattered. We become a byword against the nation. We will serve. You know what I'm saying? We will be the borrower and not the lender. All those curses of Deuteronomy. The children of Israel and the tribe of Judah are not the same people. They're brother tribes. Okay, the children of Israel and the tribe of Judah. Okay, we got to break that down because Judah is one of the 12 tribes of Israel, if I'm not mistaken. Yeshua the Christ came from Judah. So there's a lot to be unpacked. I know a lot of people once again, because that's why I love discussing this subject, but then sometimes it can bring different understanding because everybody has a different understanding. Now, once again, Jessica White, you got to break it down to me because I was taught that the children of Israel had 12 tribes, and the tribe of Judah is one of those tribes. So how can the people of Israel and Judah not be the same people? I'm gonna need some clarification on that. You know what I'm saying? Oh yeah, so I know what Black's laws mean. in Law's Dictionary, Cherokee. But, I use that in the context of, that's why I say so-called black most of the time. But like, if I say black people, everybody knows who I'm talking about. Now, if I don't use a black, then I got to use Israelites or Hebrews or the Asiatic man, the original, whatever. So then you lose people, you confuse people. So when I say black, everybody knows who I'm talking about. Even though that I know in Black's Law Dictionary, it says dead, void of life, that. Yeah, I know all that. But like, so what am I to call us Cherokee? What am I to call melanated people when we refer to ourselves? What am I to call us? So that's I don't know, but that's where you get Israelites. Before we was Hebrews. Yep. Hebrews, yeah, that's right. The Hebrew people, they talked about the Hebrew. The Hebrew women are strong. That's what they said that when they was down in Egypt. The Hebrew women are strong. Abraham was called a Hebrew. Okay. So we should call ourselves Hebrews then. Cherokee Choctaw. So we should call us Cherokee Choctaw. They are the same, just split the kingdom. Yeah, we know about the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. Yeah, they are the same. They claim we're black people. No, I know we're not black. There is no nation called black people. There is no Hebrew. And that's another thing. We got, she said that's why I don't like to get into all of those names, because there you have another name. You got the Hebrew foundational black Americans. You got the African descendants of slaves. You got all of these names. We're no worse than everybody else, calling us black, African American, Negro, colored. If every other reason, we what I'm saying, we gotta agree upon one name. Well, no, we're not Hebrews, we're Israelites. We're not Israelites, we're Hebrews. We're not Hebrews or Israelites, we're Hebrew Israelites. Well, we're not neither of those. We're the tribe of Judah. We're the lost tribe of Jacob. All of these names, what I'm saying? When can we agree on one of them? You know what I'm saying? That's why, I just say so-called black people, because when I say black people, everybody knows who I'm talking about. Black people in America, black people in the Bible, whatever the case may be. So until we can, the white, until, and you laugh and flip the script, but I'm serious like that. So we get that one's indigenous Americans, you know what I'm saying? Foundational black, all of these names we got, I know about the tribes that were here, the Black Seminoles, the Choctaws, the Cherokees, all the northern tribes up there too, people. So the Hebrews and the Jews are not the same. They're brother tribes. See, I don't know about it. Let me so Jeremiah 34:9. I don't have one of my Bibles by me. Do I? Oh, yes, I do. Hold on. You said Jeremiah. Oh, no, that's not a Bible. Jeremiah 34:9. We are one name. It's a lot of brown skinned people. Jeremiah 34:9. I didn't mean to get all that. We supposed to be talking about Ryan Hinton, but this I'm interested in being truthful and sharing truth. Black Moors, yeah, but some people call us Moors. What about those people? You know what I'm saying? Every man should be his man. Every man may serve. Being a Hebrew or a Hebrew is go. So Hebrew. So I forgot about the Black Moors. You know what I'm saying? The Moors and the Moorish Science Temple and all those guys. So if we can all depend on, or we can all come to terms with just one name to call us, then I'll do it. But until then, I can't. I gotta call us every time I mention so-called black people. I got go down the whole list of names. People of African descent. Yep, Kemetic. No, yep, Kemetic. The United Black Kemetic Nation. Okay, that's a good one. With the Black Shemites, the Hamites. You know what I'm saying? See, She is reading it out. The context got to be broken down. American Indians, like so. There's so many names, man. It's it's hard to choose one. I guess I got to pick one and stick with it though. You know what I'm saying? Hello.
Hey, brother, shalom.
Shalom, peace and blessings. I see you listening to me.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah, man. I see you have a question about who we are, man. If you don't mind, can you go to Romans chapter 10 and verse 1? I mean, Romans 11 and 1.
Romans 11 and 1. That sounds familiar.
Yeah, let's go to Romans 11 and 1, man.
Let's go to Romans 11 and 1. What is Romans 11 and 1? Just go ahead and read it to me if you can. Are you there already?
Yeah, I'm here. Let me get there with you.
Yeah, no, you just read it to me. Cause I'm on the phone with you, and I'm trying to, Romans 11 and 1. What did that say? Okay, now I got you. So he said, ask whether God has rejected his people. Said the remnant of Israel. See, now which version are you reading from? I asked then, did God reject his people? By no means. I am an Israelite myself, a descendant of Abraham from the tribe.
KJV, go to KJV.
KJV.
That's it. That's the most.
Well, you know who King James was now. A lot of people don't like reading his version because King James he wrote the first book called Demonology.
But King James, he didn't write the Bible. He authorized, he had the power.
Yeah, but so when he wrote it, he made he told the people what to do, what to say, because there's some more versions of the Bible with other books in them. Why did they take those books out?
King James, he just authorized. He didn't write. He got 47 different scholars from around the world to put the Bible from Greek and Hebrew and Latin and put it together so we can understand the English. That's why it's the English version, because he said, well, we're gonna be scattered abroad across the nation. You see what I'm saying?
But those scholars and stuff that, once again, there are certain words in Hebrew that can't even be translated into English. So that there's been some some modification there. Like I know a brother who went to theology school. He was like, man, certain words that we're reading, that's not what it meant. So even though he got all those scholars were not even smart enough, because there are certain words in Hebrew that the English don't even have no translation for.
Yeah,
so you understand that, but we can go on with that. That's a whole nother conversation. But let's go into this King James version. I say then, has God cast away his people? Certainly not. For I am an Israelite, one of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin.
That's who we are, brother.
Now that's Paul talking.
That's Paul talking.
Okay. So we are the Israelites. Okay.
That's who we are. That's what the Bible just said, right? Okay, you need some more clarification? Let's go over here. Let's go to people like the New Testament. Let's stay in Matthew, right? Let's go to Matthew chapter 1 and verse 21.
Matthew 1 and verse 21. Okay. Matthew 1 and 21 says, well, no, it's Matthew. Is it Matthew or Matthews?
Matthew, in the New Testament, the first book.
Yeah, I know that, but it's not. No, it's not Matthew. Maybe maybe I need to separate.
Matthew 1 and 21.
Matthew 1, 21. Let's see.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's not pulling up. Go ahead and read it to me. Go ahead.
And it say, and she shall bring forth a son, and thou shalt call his name Jesus, and for he shall save his people from their sins. Right now, they say that Now let's find out who his people is. We're gonna go right over here to Matthew 2:6, and it say, "And thou Bethlehem, and in the land of Judah, art thou the least among the priests of Judah, because the Most High God come from the tribe of Judah. That's where he come from.
Yeah.
For out of these shall come a governor, which is who? Jesus Christ. That's the governor's going to come out of Judah. What they talking about? And thou and it say that shall rule my people Israel. You see that?
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. I know who we are, Israelites. You know, we're the people of Israel. But but do you call yourself a Hebrew Israelite, or you just call you Israelite? Because a lot of people got to put the Hebrew Israelite in front of it. So
yeah, see, everybody is Hebrews. You see what I'm saying? But you got the Hebrew Edomite, Hebrew Moabites. You know what I'm saying? But we're the Hebrew Israelites.
Okay. That's why you got to put the Israelite afterward. The Hebrew. Okay.
Because every nation is a Hebrew, but it's what kind of Hebrew are you?
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
Yeah, but I'll just watch you live, man, and you say that we need to find out what we need to call ourselves.
Yeah.
That ain't what I say is according to what the Bible say. And you can go in the version of the Bible, it's going to say the same thing.
Yeah, God forbid this is strong language in Greek. It's meaning absolutely not, never. Y'all forbid. Paul is like, don't even think it. Yeah.
Don't even think it. You see that?
Yeah.
Don't even think it.
Yeah, but see, like I said, but it's you know, once again, anybody who mentions the King James version, right, and say that's the end all be all. So what was like when it was written in its Hebrew language? Isn't that more powerful than what King James did when it's written in its Hebrew language?
That's why he say you have to study till you show yourself approved. You have to go to it's called the Blue Letter Bible. And when you go over there, that breaks it down for you. And you can say it to tell you in Greek what it was, the Hebrew what it was, and it give you the actual translation to what it was.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? That's why the Bible says you have to study
to show yourself approved. Okay, all right, okay.
You see what I'm saying?
I'm with you.
He said you have to obey God rather than man. That's why I don't want to say my own words. I want you to read out the Bible, so you can't say that I'm saying there's a man saying that. What the Bible says. If you don't believe the King James translation, then go to different ones and see what you come up with. Because they just break it down to the better English terms, so it's better for you to understand. Because everybody can't understand the King James Bible. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I get a lot of people like that. Well, I can't read that because there's too many D's and thous and speaking and yeah, you know. So which I get, but I can read anything because I just like knowledge. But I get other people. But then once again, those other versions don't say the same. Like they'll take you reading something totally different. Like the new standardized version and the Jacob and the whatever, all those words, like when you asked me to look up the King James version, right? Let me show you how many different versions they got. You can get the Message Bible, the Amplified, the 21st Century, the American Standard, the BRG, the Christian Standard, the Common English, the Jewish, Contemporary English, the Darby, Disciples, Literate, Easy to Read, Easy Translation, Evangelical Heritage, English Standard, 1599, Geneva Bible, God's Word. All of those, like you will not, like you can read that same verse that you had and you'll read something totally different. So you gotta be careful with those translations too, man, because you really don't, you don't know it's so many different translations. But I thought in Revelation said, he who adds to this Bible or who takes away from this Bible will bring damnation on themselves. A translation is an addition or subtraction, right?
No,
so
translation means like just read like right now. If I go to talking in herb, can you understand me?
No, sir.
That's all it is. Translated from Hebrew to English, because why? He said we're gonna be scattered abroad. We scattered the Israel will be scattered to all nations.
Yeah.
That's why King James had to translate, because he said, "What in the last days, all my sheep is gonna hear my voice." So when it's judgment time, you can't say you ain't never heard this word. This word it's gonna be in Latin. It's gonna be in Greek. It's gonna be in English. It's gonna be in Spanish. It's gonna be in Chinese. It's everywhere, because why? The Israel is scattered all across the country. They scattered everywhere across the world. You see what I'm saying?
So look, let me ask. So here's a guy. Imunia, excuse me if I'm mispronouncing your name, or a woman, Imunia Israel. Nobody knows who's is who in this generation. So claiming Israelite bloodline is what nobody can evidently verify now because there has been a lot of mixing. What do you think about that? Like, because I honestly I can't trace my roots to Israel. You know.
Okay, but I'm gonna show you something. See, that's what they told you. That's about the blood. Nobody has the blood back on them, but when you read the Bible, he said what? The curses shall be upon Israel forever until you come back. The reason how we know we're the chosen people, I'm going to show you why. This is a prophecy that was prophesied in the Bible that nobody can deny. And this is why they should have burnt the Bibles up. I'm going to show you why. This is Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 68, KJV. He said, "And the Lord thy God shall bring thee into Egypt again." Okay. Now he said he's going to bring the Israelites back into Egypt again. But we know that the Israelites, they did what? They walked out of Egypt, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what is he saying about he's going to bring you back into Egypt again? Okay, now let's go to Exodus chapter 20 and verse 2. So he said precept a little bit upon precept, line upon line, here a little, there a little, Old Testament, New Testament. So now, with Exodus chapter 20 and verse 2, he said, "I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage." So now he's saying here that Egypt mean what? Bondage, right?
Okay.
So now we go back to Deuteronomy 28:16, and then let's read it. Now, instead of Egypt, we're going to put bondage right there. "And the Lord thy God shall bring thee into bondage again, slavery again, with ships."
No.
Whoa! Hold up! Did you hear that?
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that correlation made before. I've heard that correlation made before.
Therefore I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your who? Unto your enemies for what? Bondman, mean a slave man and a slave woman, and no man shall buy you. And then buy you in the Greek, that means redeem.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. I'm with you. Like I said, I'm with that.
This is the do-all. This is how we know that we are the chosen people, the children of Israel. If your ancestors come from this prophecy right here that was prophesied thousand years ago off the slave ship, because why? He said, "I curse that people on that seed forever."
So you say so only the black people in America who were slaves are the true people of Israel.
No, not only black people. It's not about color. You got the black, Hispanics, Native American, and semi-Indians.
So all of the people, so the black people who were never enslaved, they not or any people who were never enslaved here in America, they are not people of Israel. According to that theology right there. You say, okay, whoever was brought over here on slave ship.
If your ancestors fit this, then you're part of the chosen people. Because I'm gonna tell you why. You jump over here to Deuteronomy 48, and I'm gonna show you what I'm talking about.
No, I just asked that specific question though. That's why I said and we ain't got to go further because I know what you're talking about. And I don't want to, you know what I'm saying? Because once you start getting into verses, then you kind of start digging. We can go on for verses forever and ever. So I don't want this show for that. But I just want you to answer that question. Anybody who was not, brought over here on the slave ships or enslaved in America, then they not of the lineage of Israel. Is that what that I'm supposed to take from what you're saying?
According to the prophecies, he said these people was gonna be back into captivity on slave ships. So our ancestors got to America, we got to Cuba, we got to Jamaica, we got to Haiti, we got to.
But there was other slave ships that went to other places too, not just America.
I know that's what I said.
Not just America.
He said we'll be scattered all across, we'll be everywhere.
So
you go to China, we over there. You go to Iraq.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
that's why I asked you about the translation. That's why he had to translate the Bible. That's why it's different translation, because why? His people have to understand. You got to hear the word. That's why I said you can't go to China and speak English, they don't understand you. But if you get the China Bible, you go to read in Chinese, the Israelite is over there, they're gonna hear it. Because why? We are the lost sheep. We don't know who we are. That's why every 15 years our nationality have to change. But everybody else stay the same. Everybody know who they is, where they come from, who the ancestors is. They go back all the way down to the damn thing, the first ancestor of their kind. But we can't do that.
Okay, well here goes somebody in the comments said, no. If your father is a so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American, you are not an Israelite. So that's why I don't like discussing it. And this is another sister with the name Israel. So she believes as you believe, but she said, no. If your father is a so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American, you are. And she said you are an Israelite if your father is a so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American. Okay.
There you go, because it's the seed on your father. That's enough.
Okay.
There you go. Yeah, that's what I was explaining to you. If you your family ancestors come back to the slave trade, no matter what you got, son, throughout this earth, you are the God chosen people, because he said, well, my people is lost sheep, they're privately, we're at the bottom. And that's what it is. All right,
so my brother, we gonna have to do a whole show on this, because this ain't one of where I wanted to go with this show. But yeah, we're gonna have to pick this up at a later time. But I certainly thank you for calling, my brother, and thank you for the knowledge. And we're definitely.
And I appreciate you, man. I watch the show all the time to keep doing what you're doing. But I just tapped in because I see you say, who else we gonna call up?
Yeah.
I just want to consider that in the Bible. I don't want to go too far. I know what kind of channel you got.
Yeah.
Beautiful channel, man. Keep doing.
We gonna get into it. It's time to get into that though, man, because I think this is a very, very subject, because everybody wants to know their lineage and doing, 23andMe and Ancestry.com and all that, because people are, people are really searching for real truth, because we know that a lot of things that we've been taught, through, the schooling and so-called Christianity in this country is not true. So we definitely want to have to be more vigilant in the spreading truth and, bringing knowledge out. So I thank you too, my brother.
All right, thank you, man. I just want to say shalom and Most High Christ bless.
Same to you. Peace and blessings.
Peace and blessings.
All right. Shout out to my brother, man. Shout out to my brother for bringing the word. But yeah, but basically, man, the family of Ryan Hinton, did and we're gonna pick back on that case probably later on tonight when I'll be able to break down the press conference. But I thank y'all for watching and tuning in, interacting, sharing the knowledge. We can't get the creator back, and that's basically it. If we can't get the creator back to us, or if we can't get back to the creator, then all of this is just a moot point. I'm going to text you the list of all who got reparation. Okay, do that. But yeah, so I'm going to get off this live, but I thank y'all for tuning in, man. Thank y'all for watching. Make sure y'all keep tuning in. Thank you all for interacting, calling, texting, sending messages, emails, and all those things. So peace and blessings. Y'all have a blessed day.